Now, we know that Trump is not the most, he's not the most popular sitting president. He's very, very unpopular, actually. People are not happy with him. And yet, oddly enough, the Democrats are a little less popular than he is. Isn't that amazing? That, again, now add to that the fact that most people actually support progressive policies. That should give the Democrats a pretty good chance on being able to take over from the Republicans, right? 2018. Here we have a prime opportunity where you have a lot of progressives out there, a lot of activists, a lot of energy behind the progressive movement. We're talking about Medicare for all. We're talking about a living wage. We're talking about student loan reform, and eliminating debt from college, which is a very, very important issue, especially to young voters, young millennials. This is a perfect opportunity to take Congress, to take the White House, to take back the state governorships and enact some real progressive change. Now, are the Democrats going to do that? I think you already know the answer. Are they going to back progressive issues? I think, again, you already know the answer to this. Now, let me give you an example of what their policy priorities are. So let's go to Florida here, where recently Sally Boynton Brown, who's the DNC's second in command, spoke in front of a group of progressives in Broward County. Now, here she's going to respond to a question about whether or not we should, as Democrats, or they should as Democrats, start backing issues and start really harping on the issues that matter to regular people.
So, first of all, I will say I'm not an issues person. I am a people person. Issues help people, but I really, anybody who knows me and has interacted with me on Facebook, issues are just not something that I get really involved in. I do believe in the platform process that our party has that define the issues that make up our party. I find it interesting that Florida doesn't create its own platform. There's not a lot of states in the nation that do that. And my understanding is that changed sometime recently. So we're under the DNC platform. So any issue questions, I will always turn back to the platform because that's where we get those. This is not going to be popular, but this is my belief of the time and place that we're in now. I believe that we're in a place where it is very hard to get voters excited about issues, the type of voters that are not voting. And I recognize, again, that's not going to be a popular stance with this crowd. At the end of the day, what really matters is what our candidates decide that they want to do. So, two things to that. I believe the FDP needs to have an overarching identity message that we are making sure that we drive out to everybody, and that in that identity message we identify key issues, healthcare definitely being one of them, and then we educate our candidates to be able to go talk about those to the best of their ability. So I believe that the way that we have those conversations needs to drastically be different than how it has been. As Democrats, I think we continue to try to connect with voters' heads around issues and facts and truth when we are now in an era of emotional politics where people are scared and we have to figure out how to connect with their hearts.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that I draw from that, right? For one, she's not an issues person. She's a people person. Maybe she should deal with people. And it also turns out that people care about issues. And that's the other thing that she said, is that, well, it's not about they didn't really care as much about the issues. I don't think that people care about the issues. It's hard to get them excited about issues. Well, maybe you should ask Bernie Sanders about that. He ran a campaign based on issues, and he never shut up about them. And he was very specific on those issues and would go on for 2 hours about the issues facing the country. And yet he seemed to have gotten rather large crowds and about 46% of the Democratic vote during the primary.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I mean, I think it was Harvard, but there was a study that indicated that the Clinton campaign, they ran less issues-based ads than a lot of other presidential elections in recent history, and that was another part of why they lost. I think it goes without saying at this point, people do care about issues. I know that personality does have something to do with it. That's the reality. the United States, of the way our media structure works, where they try to create a horse race and stuff like that. But people are really hurting right now. People are hurting, and they're tired of a system that has failed them. So yeah, people do care about issues. More people are ready for single payer than ever before. 60% of Americans. We've never seen that before. The time's now. You know, a lot of people, they want to know, what are you going to do about wages? What are you going to do about the stuff impacting my community? Fracking, stuff like that. A lot of people are really alert to that stuff. And, you know, when you see these town halls in rural areas, when you see other town halls in rural areas or other areas where, you know, Bernie Sanders is connecting with people all across political aisles, and you see people booing their representatives, you see veterans screaming for single-payer healthcare, saying they need it. It's time, you know, and then the politicians will throw out the platitudes against it. They'll throw out their right-wing talking points, and it's Republicans and certain Democrats are doing. I mean, Dianne Feinstein uses right-wing talking points when she throws, you know, universal health care under the bus, saying it can't happen. People are they're not accepting it. They're not taking it. So yeah, I mean, I think to now use that, oh, well, people don't really care about issues. I can understand how someone could try to have that argument because they're like, look, we elected Donald Trump. But no, in reality, part of the reason he's there is because people felt like, you know, people felt very disenfranchised, very disconnected from our process entirely. And it's because they felt like their issues were not being spoken to by anybody.
Yeah, and there's a third thing that I wanted to add in there that she had mentioned too. We got to focus on our identity. You know what that makes me think of? More identity politics. More, we're not the Republicans. Republicans bad, which, yeah, you can definitely make a policy argument that that the Republicans are bad. But just focusing on identity politics, which again, that's what makes me think of not a winning strategy. We tried that in 2016. We lost. Bad.
Jeff, I think I've said this before, so to anybody watching that has heard me say this before, I apologize. But for anybody that has not heard it yet, get over identity politics, you sexist Bernie bro, is a sentence that has been said to me before by somebody that doesn't like Bernie or irony. That is a sentence that has been said.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's, again, wow. So later on, there were some people, and she was taking questions. There's somebody that was not pleased by her answer, and he decided to bring it back up only to get this response. I'm going to show some of the question, and then we're going to show the response.
You sort of hinted when you first answered, that's why the question popped up in my mind, that you felt that what got people to come out and vote wasn't really issue-oriented, and all the evidence is that's not true at all. Voter participation tends to crash, but when somebody brings out issues, that's when they come out. We saw that with Bernie Sanders, so I thought you had a contradiction there.
So I think that there's evidence to both of those things, and I don't think that we need to get into a debate about it. I believe that what we saw with Bernie was a phenomenon that did not just have to do with issues that he was talking about. I believe it is much bigger than that. Trump had a similar phenomenon, and frankly, from Justin Trudeau all the way to the future, around the globe, we have seen similar phenomenons. The issues have not been the same in any way, shape, or form, and candidates haven't always focused on those issues. So I believe that people are emotionally reacting to the emotion. What happened, I believe, and again, I don't have data to back this up, but is Bernie found a core group of people who were excited about issues, and their passion and enthusiasm and energy created an emotional reaction that more people reacted to. That's what I saw from an outside perspective. That doesn't mean that there's not a core group of people that believe in issues and that really resonates with them. I believe that the majority of people who are not voting and not participating are not issues for people. I think that they are emotional beings that are struggling to make a living and need to know that somebody's going to show up and be on their side and help them.
So broken down, and I know the audio was a little hard to hear on that. So breaking it down a little bit, again, she goes back to, well, I don't really have a lot of evidence to support this, but I just don't think people who are poor, who are struggling, are issues-based voters. Really? That's strange, because generally people care about issues that affect them financially. As in, like, how am I going to pay for my health care? Well, it'd be really nice if we had a single payer so that I wouldn't have to, struggle to pay my health insurance and take myself to the doctor or my kids to the doctor. That's an issue that affects poor people. And guess what? Poor people tend to care about it. In fact, everybody tends to care about it. And of course, that's the easiest example to throw out, but you could even throw out living wage. People who are poor, who are in these fast food, industry jobs, or these jobs where you're working for minimum wage, you hear the word, hey, living wage, we're going to give you $15 an hour. That's an issue they care about. So to say that they're not focused on issues and that they don't vote on issues, it's because they don't have issues that they're able to vote on, because nobody stands for those issues anymore. It's all about empty platitudes, and it's all about flowery language and political rhetoric. That's why they don't get involved. That's why they don't vote, because they don't trust that their politician is actually on their side. All that changed with Bernie Sanders, and that's why you saw so many people rally around him. It's not he had a core group of people that were very energized, and that energy ended up getting fed on by other people, and it wasn't really the issues. No, that's not what happened. That's complete bullshit. Bernie Sanders talked about nothing but the issues. And when a politician talks about important issues, especially in such detail, and skips the flowery bullshit, people listen, because that is refreshing, because they want to hear about those issues. They want to talk about those issues, because those issues affect them personally. But when you're giving out, again, these empty platitudes, stronger together, breaking barriers, blah, 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 bullshit, we need some more hope, people tune right the fuck out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to make that. I mean, first of all, it's wrong to say so. I mean, one of the things that makes, I think, a lot of working class people feel disconnected from Democrats in a way that they hadn't, 30 years ago or so. I mean, other than the obvious neoliberalism, is that elitism. I mean, that's a common criticism. And when you see people making statements like this, that criticism is deserved. That's a really elitist, ignorant thing to say about people. Oh, well, I don't think they care about issues. I just think they care that we're not Trump or this and that. I mean, that's a very irresponsible thing to say, and it's not helping. Getting better messaging in swing states that Democrats are not doing so great in. And it's certainly not going to help in winning back seats or anything like that, making statements like that. And yeah, I think Bernie Sanders is among a lot of what's going on that proves how not true that is. Look, there's nothing about Bernie Sanders. I mean, yeah, he's very well spoken. He's very likable. And he's a very he doesn't have a lot of skeletons in his closet. And sure, all that helps. But look, he's a 75-year-old Jewish guy from Vermont, and the only pop culture thing that he's done is make a folk album in the 70s. And as far as social movements and stuff, he's done a lot of amazing things. I mean, he did some amazing thing for the civil rights movement that the right wing tried to smear him about but failed at. It actually ended up helping him. Because that image of him being, dragged off by cops during a protest ended up helping him, and it went viral in a good way. Yep. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I guess what I'm saying, it's not like he is some big like celebrity, high sugar fluff cultural icon. He's just a guy that had a platform that inspired and mobilized a lot of people. So, it's really scary when you're talking about, The Rock might run for president now. I mean, Donald Trump has, really made a bigger circus out of our political process. He's not the disease. He's a symptom of a much bigger disease. It's a broken system that got us Trump. And if we don't make some huge adjustments, we're going to keep getting Trumps. But people are paying attention to issues. And, we need to get to a point where that can actually be unstifled by the powerful so that it can win.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.